I wish I'm not a kid anymore. But some days I sit and wish I was a kid again. Back in the days when I was young, I'm not a kid anymore. But some days I sit and wish I...
Hey people, it's Ben here from Beneficial Massive, where you, the masses, will hopefully benefit from my reviews of video games, accessories and media. We like to do a bit of everything on here, but the main focus is technology and entertainment. Anyway, today I've got a really special episode, something that's close to my heart. I'm not going to cry. If I do, then maybe my views will skyrocket, I don't know. Man cries over console review? Yeah, but nah, probably not, but yes. Okay, so on today's episode, it is another installment of Histro. It's part 2 to be exact. And speaking of 2, the number 2 is actually related to today's episode. So first, today's episode of Histro, we take a look at the Sega Master System 1 and 2, which are basically the same. SMS we'll use for short, Sega Master System, and the reason 2 relates to the SMS is because the console I first fell in love with was the Sega Master System 2. They're basically the same thing, just look different with some minor changes. I was born in 1979, so when the SMS came out, I was at the age where I started taking an interest in console gaming. I got a Sega Master System 2 for my birthday or Christmas, I can't remember, but it was a grey coloured one, not the darker one. It had Alex the Kid in Miracle World built in, of course, which I clocked probably so many times it's ridiculous. So that's why it's a special episode. I don't have my original SMS2, but I bought another one when I started getting back into gaming in 2015. So, enough about my sentimental moments, maybe even sensual moments. Nah, we'll get into the Histro episode. Histro means retro history. I made that up, of the Sega Master System. The Sega Master System was released in Japan in 1985, North America in 1986, Europe and Australia finally in 1987, Brazil in 1989, and Korea in 1989 by a manufacturer at the time was not that famous as it is today. That manufacturer is Sega, of course. The Sega Master System was a third-generation home video game console and was discontinued from sales in 1992. The SMS for short sold 13 million units worldwide, contained a CPU size of a whole 4 MHz, 8 kilobytes of RAM and 16 kilobytes of VRAM. The display on the SMS, 256 by 192 resolution with 32 colors and had backwards compatibility with the SG-1000, which was the Master System's predecessor. The SMS was not only released to entertain you so you could escape the harshness of reality, but in the business world it was a competitor against the NES or Nintendo Entertainment System, both of them being in the third generation of video game consoles. The SMS was said to have more up-to-date hardware, but this did not help it beat sales against the NES in Japan and North America. The SMS did, though, have a lot more success here in Australia, Europe and Brazil. This was mainly due to the NES having better games, basically. As of 2015, the SMS is the longest-lived game console, 30 years and continuing due to its popularity in Brazil. Go Brazil! So let's break down a little history on Sega. Sega Enterprises Incorporated in 1980 was one of the largest arcade game manufacturers, with revenues of $214 million by 1982. Due to the downturn in arcade business in 1982, the North American manufacturing and licensing of its games was sold to Borley Manufacturing. Sega's North American Research and Development Division and Japan's subsidiary still retained itself as Sega Enterprises Limited. So, to get back on the bandwagon, Sega's president Hayao Nakayama advised the company to move into the home console market, which led to the Sega's first console, the SG-1000. Yep, I always thought the SMS was the first, but it wasn't. Then later in 1984 they released the second console, the SG-1000 II, which did not sell well. The Sega Mark III, which was the third, in 1985 was pretty much the same as the SMS, which of course was later released. The name Master System came from American Sega employees throwing darts at a whiteboard, so it was kind of a lucky pick. Isao Okawa, Sega Enterprises chairman, loved the name as it was a reference to the video game industry and martial arts combined. By the end of 1986, the SMS had sold 125,000 consoles, which was more than the Atari 7800 did in sales, but less than the NES. In Europe, Mastertronic distributed the SMS across France, Germany and the UK, advertising it as an arcade in the home, maybe due to the fact that a lot of the games were original Sega arcade titles. Mastertronic, after some financial crisis in 1987, sold a minority interest to the now well-famous Richard Branson. In 1988, it became Virgin Mastertronic, eventually, and changed its selling points to focus on re-releasing Sega's arcade games on the system and being a superior alternative to the Commodore 64. The Sega Master System continued to hold a significant part of the video game console market in Europe up to 1989, but what slowed it down a bit was of course Sega's next big console, the Mega Drive, or the Genesis for American watchers. The last game to be released on the SMS was Bomber Raid in 1989. What happened next to keep sales continuing was the release of the SMS2 in 1990. A remodeled version of the original. It was lower cost, had no Sega card slot, and had a built-in game, Alex the Kid in Miracle World. In 1992, production of the SMS had ceased. Some of the most successful, memorable, and benchmark games on the SMS were Sonic the Hedgehog 1 and 2, Streets of Rage 2, Mercs, Psycho Fox, Golvelius, Phantasy Star, Altered Beast, Outrun, Afterburner, the Wonder Boy series, and Golden Axe. In 1989, the SMS was listed in the top 20 products of NPD Group's toy retail sales. Electronic Gaming Monthly gave it a sour score of 5 out of 10 due to its lack of titles. All game writer David Busher says that it was doomed by the lack of third-party software support, and all but disappeared from the American market by 1992. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Wii U, maybe. But no one can knock its success over here in Australia, Europe and Brazil. Its legacy still lives on today through the huge emulation craze, at-games releases, GameStop, Tap, online services, Wii Virtual Console releases that is going on across this lovely world we all live in, where life is beautiful, but if things get down, pick up a controller, put on your favourite old new game and escape into a world of lovely gaming. To finish off today's episode of Histro, I'm going to leave you with 5 interesting facts about the SMS that you may or may not already know. Number 1. The SMS was re-released as the Sega Master System 2 in 1990 with a reduction in features to save money. Number 2. The Sega Master System featured a built-in secret game. Turn the system on without a cartridge inserted. When the instructions pop up, hold the D-pad up and push buttons 1 and 2 in the game. Your goal is to guide a small snail through a series of different maze levels. Number 3. Tectoy, the licensed distributor in Brazil, is still selling this popular machine to this very day. Number 4. The popular RPG series Phantasy Star made its first appearance on the Sega Master System. Number 5. In Brazil, they released a Street Fighter II version for the SMS. And that concludes this week's episode of Beneficial Massive. I'm Ben from Beneficial Massive, and I hope you've enjoyed the second installment of Histro on the Sega Master System. Be good people, happy gaming, and see you soon.
Back in the days when I wish I'm not a kid anymore, but some days I sit and wish I was a